Okay. Ooh, the moment I turn on my stream, my mouse starts bugging out. Great. Thanks for the honest setup. Well, I'm glad you took it. It's really nice. What's it called? Because I've been busy with exams for like the past 2 weeks, right? And just come back and see everything at Engine. I'm like, is it actually just me just coming back? Like, am I misreading it? But no, everything worked out. So I'm really glad with that. Okay. So anyway, let's get started on the stream. What I want to talk about today is two things. I want to talk about the way I currently look at the market, and then I want to talk about when that is going to change. Okay, I think my mouse actually broke and just keeps scrolling for no reason. Okay, so every time you see this, because I'm obviously not showing, so every time you see this happening, I think my mouse would have broke. Okay, let's ignore that. So the first, let me just turn it off now, because that's gonna annoy me. What on earth are you saying to Vito? Oh, it's good to see you again. Okay, surely that fixes it. Um, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is I want to talk about the way I look at the market currently. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to go and look at two charts. We're going to go and look at BTC over the past, just on a 4-hour chart. And then on the second window, what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at ETH. So I'm going to reset both. We're going to show the same thing. This is what I wanted to talk about. In the past, whenever we looked at a market, right, for literally like the past kind of 2 years, it's been a really long time because at least as far as I remember, right, we've been looking at BTC to decide what the market is going to do. So every single time BTC looked bearish, you would look to short alts. And every single time BTC looked bullish, you would look to long BTC, and sometimes an alt that looks especially good. And the main reason for that is because BTC has just been performing a lot better than ETH. Essentially, the reason why alts have been performing a lot better is because ETH is performing so much better. ETH is the actual BTC to altcoins. So if ETH is performing good, then altcoins are generally going to do a lot better. So the reason why I wanted to put these charts side by side is because of this. As you can see, BTC is currently only suppressing. That is the only thing this is doing, right? You can try and make all kinds of chart patterns over if you want to. These types of symmetrical triangles, they don't work. They have like a 52% breakout rate or something like that in the correct direction. So they don't work. It's like a complete 50-50. All this is complete compression. We're building up liquidity to the lower side and to the upside. Now, why that is important is for two main reasons. First of all, usually when you see compression like this, the first move is a fake out. So let's say we go down first. Usually the actual move is then going to be to the upside. That's just a small thing to note. And second of all, and this is more important, when we look at this, and if I hover my mouse on the left, right, you can see where that is on the right because it shows the exact same time. When we look at this, we can see that ETH is outperforming. We know ETH is outperforming, but we can see it on the chart as well. And why that is important is because this will show us what we want to be shorting or longing when BTC makes that move. So let's say BTC makes that first move to the downside. Due to the compression, we assume that the next move is going to go up, right? What I just talked about is when you have compression like this, the first move is usually a fake out. So let's say we have that move to the downside and we get like a good candle close somewhere there and we want to look to long. Now, the reason why I want to put ETH on the right is because when that happens, you want to be looking at what ETH is doing. ETH currently is kind of showcasing the same things, right? We have some liquidity right over here, for example, and the previous lows are completely equal. So we are building some liquidity right over here. However, we don't have that much to the upside. So what I wanted to look at is if BTC makes this move down, does ETH do the same? If you get that same move, you get that same close above, you're likely going to have a really good opportunity to get into some more altcoin longs. That is also the reason why I said I want to be long in ETH here. We're getting very close to wicking some of that liquidity, and we're getting some really good closes. I want to get into longs. If that happens again, I think that is going to be another really good reason to look for longs, because you didn't actually take that liquidity out. So if you do get that, it's going to be a good chance for longs. Yeah, everything's recorded. However, if you look to the upside, if we do get a move to the upside, where is ETH going to go? If we get a move to the upside, in general, for ETH, we are going to be looking at a way higher time frame. And the reason for that is because ETH only has like kind of one wick, where BT has like multiple wicks and a lot of shorts probably build up above this high. ETH doesn't have that at all. ETH only has that in this area. If we look, and let me make it a slightly higher time frame because the chart is so squished up. If we look at this area, we have like kind of an order block over in this area, and we have some liquidity over here. We have one wick up higher. So if we do get a move to the upside, chances are that it's not going to take this entire move. Depending on how fast ETH move when that happens, either if BTC makes this move, you're going to stop at this wick, or we're going to go for this wick. Now, as I said, the first move is likely going to be a fake out, because that's what usually happens with compression. So if we're going to look for positions for BTC and for ETH, this will be the exact same long, right? I'm just going to do it on BTC. For BTC, we would likely be looking at something like this. The stop loss would be entirely subjective, because we're going to be waiting for that wick to happen and then put it right below the wick. So I have no way to place a stop loss. So this is not an actual stop. However, when we look for shorts, we can make this on BTC, but shorting all-time high is incredibly risky. Shorting ETH would make a lot more sense looking at the position it is. However, we know that ETH is really strong, and we know that we don't have a lot of liquidity to wick over here. So the only place I would start looking for ETH shorts is over here. And I do want to make that a full context that I would never make this short if it didn't have any long exposure. But this would be a good short. So the way I currently look at the market is like this. We have an incredibly bullish structure right now. The market is incredibly strong, and especially altcoins are doing really, really well. So my bar of entry for longs is a lot lower. As you may have seen with the underlong, there's not even a harmonic on this chart. It's not even there. Like I can draw some things, but nothing is like really valid. So I literally just kept that as a range reclaim. Where in the past I would have never in my life made a play without a harmonic. There's no reason to. My bar of entry for longs at the moment is a lot lower. However, that can change. Even though currently you can almost always just look to long any coin that you see in the market, that is eventually going to change. So that is what I want to bring forward, and I'm going to do that with two charts. First of all, I'm going to bring forward an ETH chart. I don't know what layout I made it on last time, so I'm just going to make it again. And that's going to be this one. The exact same, very simple range that we made the last time. It's going to take it wick to wick, or close to wick, I guess, on this side. And just put it at the bottom of this, right over here. It's going to, just like that. Now, the past few streams, whenever we talked about ETH, I brought up this chart. And sometimes I even place like a little extra box over in this area. The past few times we talked about this chart. And the reason why was because we broke back into the range and we reclaimed it. The reason why I want to bring it up this time is for an entirely different reason. This range is still entirely in play, and I want to make that clear. The markets have been very bullish, and the markets are very bullish. The markets look really, really good. However, that can stop. So I wanted to showcase this chart to showcase, like, as a little reminder, if you have a chart like this, if you enter these types of areas, you don't have to short, right? You absolutely don't have to do that and go against the trend. However, if you get into this type of area, look around you and look what everyone is doing. Look at, for example, Twitter. Is everyone long and calling for all-time highs? Look at funding rates. What is the funding rate? Is actually everyone long? Are you seeing like plus 0.5% or something ridiculous like that? Are you seeing everything across the market having high funding rate? Stuff like that. What is the general consensus in chats? And more importantly, do you get lower time frame signs of a rejection? When you get these types of levels, you don't want to be opening a ton of new small positions, a ton of new longs, etc. So when we get here, be careful and look to take some profits, because this is the same area as this. This is your range low, this is your range high. It is that simple on a higher time frame on E. Can we break out? Yes, we can. We absolutely can. There's no reason not to. Can we reject? Yeah, that is more likely. When you're trading a range, rejections at highs and lows are more likely. So even though currently we're looking for a lot of longs, it is very important to keep in mind where ETH is heading. So when ETH gets to that 4K area, be mindful of your positions and make sure you're not over leveraged, because in this area, rejections are pretty likely. And it also goes combined with USDT dominance. USDT dominance is heading to the same area. So essentially, I don't want to make this chart too complicated, but essentially we're heading to the same area. This peso line over here, resistance, 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 support, support, support. So we're heading into the same area. When you get these types of areas, just take some profits. And then you can always add back later when you actually flip the support, right? Hey, what's up for Jerry? You're still on LDO. Okay, that's good. Let's see what LDO is doing. Ooh, we should have entered after all. Whatever. We entered two good positions today, so I'm not mad. Okay. So far, are there any questions? Okay. The last chart I quickly wanted to have a look at other dominance, but I don't think this chart has changed at all. No, it really hasn't. So the same area. The reason why I was talking about specifically long ETH over BTC, one of the reasons for that, and I know other dominance is not, it doesn't include ETH, right? Other dominance is only shitcoins. But ETH is like kind of the king of the shitcoins. So you can still kind of use it as an indicator. The reason why is because no matter how you look at it, other dominance is still a sport. I'm just showcasing it with two lines, right? There's a bunch of harmonics on this chart. Essentially, we're still at sport. This is your sport. So in general, I do think ETH's still gonna outperform, but it is, you're heading into an area where you don't necessarily want to be opening new positions. Okay. As for the market, that's like a quick kind of update that I wanted to do. If you guys have any tickers that you want me to look at, you can put them in chat, and then we can just start looking, getting through some coin requests. With that is an old one. Ondo hype. Yeah, I can give. I mean, Ondo is gonna be a quick one, right? Hype for sure. So. Okay, let's see. I think Maxi is the oldest one for this. EFI. I was really hesitating to get into e5 this morning, but it chose on low instead. Oh, it's actually Griffin. That's actually the ticker. I'm not gonna get through all of this, by the way. These are too many. I'm just gonna mark them out and see what's good. SUSD. Or can I still find it as FCM? Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's get started on WIF, because I haven't heard of that in a really long time. Ooh, I do have a chart. Ooh. What on earth is this chart? I got a small move. Okay. Jesus. What a chaotic chart. Okay. So... Okay, so a bit ago, I have made a promise to myself regarding trading, right? Because in this cycle, you're dealing with something entirely new, which is an overabundance of coins. And the reason why I want to bring that up is for two reasons. First of all, in this cycle specifically, there is no reason to trade a coin that is not behaving in a predictable manner. So you need to essentially have an edge over a coin to be able to trade it. There are so many coins, so you can be really picky with the coins you trade. So in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to go into a weekly chart, and I'm going to very simply mark this out. I'm just going to place a fib on the wicks, from the bottom of the wicks to the close or to the open, and I'm going to zoom in. Essentially, this is my most important level on WIF at the moment. When I look at WIF, this is more or less the only thing that I wanted to do. I want WIF to reclaim this. And the reason why is because as long as WIF is not actually consistently above these levels, it is trading below our range. If we treat this as a range, you are currently trading below it. Unless you flip this to support, we're trading below the range. You don't want to be trading coins below the range. You want to be trading them at range lows or range highs. Not below them, not above them. That is going to make it a lot more risky to enter. So with WIF, currently I would say don't touch this. You chart-wise, like fib-wise, you have more reasons for longs than shorts because you are at 786 and you are at the bottom of the wick. But when you zoom out and you look at, well, where actually are we? Well, you're simply at resistance. This is currently resistance. You can maybe take a small long, but on a higher time frame, this is probably going to reject. So what I would look for with is very simple. Display. And when time gets there, I am not actually going to use the stop loss, right? I would use a lower time frame entry model to get the stop loss down to probably somewhere over here, just getting it on a lower time frame. But just for a higher time frame idea, this is what I would look for. WIF just looks like a very big range. So essentially, you just want to see this reclaim before you do anything. If we reclaim this, I think it's going to be a good coin to look at. Until we do, I'm not interested. Just trading below the range. On low. Okay, let's see. This was the original idea behind your spot position. Glad we kept it open. See, this is what soft stops are good for. When you have positions like these where you know that, hey, we shouldn't get below this, but it is also a swing low. So sometimes you just get an SFP kind of like this, right? Where you wick through it and then close above. That is where you can use soft stops for. That's why I always use small spot. Okay, anyway. On a higher time frame still looks really good. I'm just going to showcase two charts because I've obviously charted on those since we're in a position. On a higher time frame, this is still what I'm looking at. The two technical targets are... No, wrong one. The two main technical targets are still these two. We got really close to our TP2 because this is TP2 on our spot position. Got really close to it. This is the is the next technical target, and the last one would be this D point right over here. Oh, this has actually moved since. Let's see. Yeah, no, it's still going to be around a 1-3. Okay. So that would be the last. Although on a higher time frame still looks really, really good. This is one of the only altcoins that actually still looks really good. Because you're still very obviously uptrending. So the logical next step after making higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low would simply be a higher high. Just a continuation of the trend. So Ondo looks really good. And Ondo zoomed in also looks really good. The only kind of hurdle that we had was this. And this is why I didn't mark it out, right? Because A2C is not entirely complete. It should be above 1618. It was the 0.5. But as of now, it looks like we're way above it. So simply put, this 618 is going to be the next level. And after that, this is the chart we're looking at. So that is also the reason why I wanted to take 33% per TP. Because after you get this TP, you literally don't have any resistance until 1.2 first, which is all the way up here. And after that, 1.5. There's going to be your main targets. So we can swing it on. Yeah, you can. You can absolutely enter with a swing mindset. I just don't like leverage swings, personally. I don't do it. But it makes sense. You can take a swing position on Andoi. That is why I specifically stated to leave runners, right? Because I think it is a chart good for runners. So yeah, although apart from that, I don't have a play to give you because the play I gave you is the play I gave everyone. Okay. Hype is interesting, actually. Okay. Okay, for hype, I gotta zoom in a little. Because when you look at a chart like this, you are not gonna find a lot of harmonics. The only harmonic that you're gonna find on this is going to be a slightly outside of tolerance band. It's like technically within 0.03 outside is the limit. Pow. I haven't heard of Pow in a really long time. It's out of tolerance. This is likely not going to hit. So I'm going to zoom in because that is going to give us a lot more accurate results. And when we do that, also this is on a KuCoin chart, right? So I'm going to give the ratios a bit more slack because the volume on KuCoin is really low because no one trades here. When we look at that, essentially if we place our most obvious XAB, we get a 0.5 XB. A 0.5 XB can lead to two things, a Leo and a bat. Both of those complete rather close to each other. One of them completes at the 786 and the other at the 886. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm only going to mark those two levels out. These would essentially be the levels I would look for, which is really nice because when we look at a higher time frame, we also have a higher time frame bearish harmonic right there that we would be flipping to support. For those of you that don't know, harmonics are not technically bearish or bullish patterns. They just have that name. This is a bearish anti-guarded, for example. If you flip to support, that is a very simple resistance to support flip. So if we do get here, and we do get to that 786, that could easily be a long. Because on a higher time frame, we're flipping a very important level to support. On a lower time frame, we are completing this Leo or this bat, depending on how you look at it. So I would absolutely keep our stop loss way below that 886. Just going to keep it below these kind of closes right here. So they're going to be right there. And with a structure like this, you usually pull your target up slightly higher. my final target is going to depend on where we bounce. So for now, I'm just going to keep it in line with this. And I'm going to mark it out at the 113. That's going to be our final target, and our targets in between are going to be the same two technical targets. Did you make it yourself, or did you copy it from the streams? Because I do hype like every stream nowadays. So essentially, this is what we do on hype. Let's see. So, okay. First thing first. I'm gonna do the exact same thing on Soul that I did on Eve. I'm gonna place one line over here that is your support and your range load. Then I'm gonna place a second line. Okay, there's gonna be a box. I'm gonna place a box. It's your range high. So, essentially, looking at this chart, Soul is a short, or was a short. Soul was a short right here. This would have been the optimal entry. You would have likely put your stops somewhere over there, like above these. With this as a target, unrealistic. Well, it looks unrealistic right now, but we know how it goes, right? Simple range trade. Now, because of this, I would personally not long it here. That is also why I'm not long at Soul, right? Because I was looking for longs this morning. However, as you can see, we can actually look at the past, right? We have a perfect example. As you can see, every time that we had a bounce from this, that actually like bounces without making lower lows, you go up, you flip this to support, you go higher. So, very simple. Apparently I've become a support resistance trader. Didn't know. But essentially, this is what I would look for. I would look for, in this case, I'm just going to take the current wick high to be flipped into support. And I will target this right here. It's a very simple range trade. Soul's a very simple chart. This chart is actually one of the easiest coins to trade because you just draw two lines and you have all of the levels you need. This is where you buy, that is where you sell. If you want to put in some more action than one trade every month, you place another line right over here. This is where you buy, this way you sell partials, this way you sell the rest. It's also a very, very simple chart. As for actual harmonics, so I'm gonna give you two charts, right? I'm gonna give this one, but I want to chart harmonics as well because I get incredibly bored by charting support resistance. As for the harmonics, we can take it up to this point. What we're currently doing is something called a BAM flip. I'm gonna mark out two levels. First, oh, that's the wrong one. First, I want to mark the 0.5 out, and then I'm going to mark our B point out. Just going to place a little box in between those two. When you get uncompleted harmonics with an X to B 0.5, essentially, oh, completely wrong tag. Where's the bound box? Yeah. Essentially, we can trade that. Usually I always say you shouldn't be trading uncompleted harmonics because there's little reason to do it, right? Harmonics don't tell you anything until these hit. However, when you have an X to B 0.5, like this one's close enough to 0.5, you get this area where not only is it a halfway point, because the 0.5 fib indicates the halfway point of a move, you also have that newly found B point. This is a very important area to flip the support. So, if, and I'm going to go into a lower time frame for this, right? If we now go and reclaim this, we have to get above these two wicks. We reclaim it and get a good support flip here. that is when I would actually look for long. That is a moment where I would say now you have enough reason to long it, even though we're close to range highs. So, low time frame entry model is a very simple chart. If we flip this level to support, that's when I would actually enter into a long. And your TPs would be these ones. These would be the TPs. So go above these wicks, go back down, flip to support. That's when I would actually enter a long. Apart from that, I would just trade like a range. So is a chart you can keep really, really simple if you want to. The coin just moves really easily. You just buy low, you sell high. E5. Okay, so the reason I was looking at this, and I ended up choosing Aldo, right? And Eve. The reason I was looking at this is this. You have a lot of wicks over in this area. There'll be wick below and then close above. So the long I was looking at was this one. And I know it's sad that we missed it, but in the end, what did we really miss, right? Because we took 2 other longs. So what I'm looking for now is this. If we draw a harmonic on this chart, we can get 2 important levels. We can get that 786 and that 886. Essentially, what I want to happen, I'm just going to keep it on this one. It's a lot easier. What I want to happen is I want to see these 2 get flipped into support. So we're already above the 886, but I want to see that 786 flipped to support as well. And that's where you can actually take a position. The problem with that position is that the risk to reward sucks. So would I actually take it? No. I don't take positions for 1.7 risk to reward. Is it likely to go up? Yeah, I think it is. Especially if we look at a slightly higher time frame. I think it's really important to see that we are at high time frame support as well. We're kind of struggling in the middle, right? But on a higher time frame, this is still an area where, yeah, I would be looking for positions. Something I would look at is, for example, this. I think this would be a very realistic position. Do note though, this is an absolute shitcoin, so I wouldn't take it too heavily because I stopped trading shitcoins, right? So I'm likely not going to be trading any of this. But this would be a very likely position because you finally reclaimed this range low. So if you do get above it and flip the support, you're likely to get a good move. Okay, I have... Yeah, no, I just wouldn't. Honestly, I'm just going to give you honest advice. The same story I started on with, right? With, I wanted to discount until we flip this to support, essentially. Griffin, this coin just looks terrible. There is no reason to trade this. I'm going to give you very honest advice. There is no reason to be trading it. And the reason why I say that is because why would you trade a coin that has gone down 93% from the lows while ETH is close to making new cycle highs when you can trade any other coin? So when you look at coins like these move very unpredictably, and these move in a way that is very, very difficult to trade. So I just wouldn't touch this at all. So yeah, I don't know. I can make harmonics on this. We do have a bad, but that is about it. You have a bad right there, so if you do want to give it a shot, it is not necessarily a bad place to do so, but I really wouldn't. Because there's a really big risk that if you do end up entering this position, that your capital is just going to be stuck for a very long time because it just doesn't move. Because even with ETH performing as well as it did, it's just sideways. It's just been sideways for more than 2 months, while ETH has literally like 2x at that time. So you would expect an altcoin like this to at least 2x as well. So I just wouldn't trade this. Ooh, that is a chart and a half. Students in chat just got flashbacks. Ooh, that doesn't look good. It's an all-time high SFP. Can't really make anything on this. It's gonna be a 7 at 6 at least. Yeah, and then that is outside of tolerance. Can we use this? We can't. Can you please check Ford coin? Sure, if we have the time, I'll add some to the list. Okay, so ABCDs are very simple. Essentially, the concept they go by is, let's say we move one distance, in this case from A to B. We get a little pullback, and we move that same distance again. The level you get is going to be very important. The example I always use for this is E. As you can see, this is literally my go-to chart because it's very textbook. If you make a move into one direction, so let's say we'll just use the arrow tool. We make this move, we get a little move up, and we just make the same move again. That is usually where you bounce. ABCDs are one of the simplest harmonic patterns, which is why people usually forget them. People only use the 5-leg harmonic patterns. They tend to forget these. What we have on BNB is not only do we have that ABCD pattern, we have a 0.5 to 2.0 ABCD, which is marked by the trend-based fixation 1. We also have a touch of all-time high, and we closed way below it. This is a very textbook swing failure pattern. You don't want to see that. You really don't. When you get full SFPs like these on all-time highs, you usually get a pullback. An example would literally be BTC. What happened the last few times we had an SFP? We had one very, very small SFP over in this area that didn't hold. But what happened the last few times? Last time we had an all-time high SFP was this one. I'm going to clear this chart. This is probably really annoying to look at. This is the last time we had an all-time high SFP. So, in general, when you get SFPs like these, you don't want to be longing. That is why I initially said this chart looks really bad. Even though we're seeing some movement up, this chart is not ready for a position. Technically, this would be a short. SFPs are very easy to short. You would enter on the candle close, stops above the wick. You would have already had more than 1 hour of a move out of it. I wouldn't take this anymore. I don't see a reason to short this right now. I think it is way too risky. However, the idea still counts. Because you have an SFP like this, I wouldn't long it. I think it is really risky to long. So, I personally wouldn't take a trade on this. Not because of the reasons why I said I wouldn't take a trade on Griffin, for example, but because I think the chart is going to be very, very mixed signal, which is just a lot more difficult to trade. Trades I would consider would be a proper flip of all-time high, and then like where do you even take the target, right? At that point, I would make a higher time frame ABCD and make a target out of that. So this would take it up. The risk reward is gonna suck. The 786, so you take it up to the 1272. It's right there. Yeah, I'll explain that in a bit. So I wouldn't take this either. 1.5 risk reward. I wouldn't trade this personally. Yeah, the swing failure pattern. I'll explain it a bit better in a second. So you're getting very, very big signals from BNB. I simply wouldn't trade this. You're getting signals from lower, you're getting signals for higher. So it's just a no trade zone. So be a very, very difficult coin to trade at the moment. Technically, you can take a short, but it's really risky. Like, I think it is really likely to get stopped out. I would put it at like 70-30 to get stopped. The risk reward is really good, right? You get 7 risk reward to the wick, but incredibly risky. So I'm not gonna put a position in chat. What about with SFPs? I'll go to Zach. So let's say you have a very important level on a coin. For important levels, you can take any swing high or low. So just in general, the important highs or lows. Like this one, it's an important level. Or something like the old all-time low. This one was a very important level. All of these would be swing highs as well. All of these are very important levels. The S and SFP comes from swing, because you have your swing high and low, where you would take a very long, any coin you would consider shorting it. Yeah, BNB. It's a funny question. I'll get to that in a second. BNB and ETH, long story short, but not at CMP. Okay, anyway, when you get to these levels, right? What you want to be looking for is acceptance or rejection. When you get to these levels, so this being the old all-time low, the candle that touches it on a daily or above, in my opinion, is very important. The way I look at candles is I look at them in two ways. We look at attempts and we look at decisions. Wicks are attempts. All that wicks tell you is where price has gone, not where it decided to stay. For example, in this case, this wick decided, in this case, sellers wanted to push price below all-time lows. It wanted to make new all-time lows. And we got there. But when we got there, we got a lot of buying pressure to the point where we couldn't even manage to close them. So even though sellers wanted to close or get below this level, we got there, but we couldn't keep it there. This is a very textbook sign that tells you price does not belong lower. If it doesn't belong lower, it can only go higher. So with SFPs, when that happens, you enter on the candle close, you put your stops right below the wick, and you just target the next probable level. Zek is a very textbook example, right? It is not always going to happen like this, but it does happen a lot. SFPs are very reliable. So that's an SFP. Yeah, I don't know if I would, again, I don't know if I would trade BNB. I think it's risky. Like, exactly how I just explained it, right? You have the exact same logic on BNB right now, and you have a pattern along with it as well. But it is really risky. Because the market is incredibly strong and ETH is close to range highs, but it's not there yet. So it is likely that ETH gets another push up. It is likely that ETH gets to like this level, like this area. So shorting BNB is super risky. Pengu has been on many people's tongues. That's true, actually. Has Pengu done the same? No. Oh, for Pengu, you can actually look for it. You just wait for Pengu to wick this. Because Pengu is like one of those coins that is, it's called, this coin is like, people talk about this way too much. This coin has way too much attention, and this coin is completely worthless. It doesn't do anything. But people are talking about this, there's like a complete state of euphoria about this coin because it just made like, yeah, literally like 10x off the lows. However, when you look at the chart, where are we? We're very close to all-time high. So essentially, I would wait for the exact same thing. Exactly what we just talked about. If we get to this point, we wick above it, we close below, that's when I would take a short. This is actually a coin I would consider taking for a short. You have a lot of euphoria on it. You have a very obvious level. Now, the thing is, if this closes the daily candle above, the short is entirely cancelled, right? You wouldn't want to take it. That is likely going to tell you the price is going higher. So, would I short this? Yes, I would. Only on an SFP. I would never short an exchange one. I would never say never on the charts. When you start saying never, that's when you're going to be wrong. Think about it. When have people been actually like fully wrong about the markets? The only situations is when they fully believe they're right and that the other option is impossible. So I would never short an exchange coins only because exchange coins have been so strong and manipulative in the past. That doesn't mean it's going to stay the same in the future. Because, let's actually skip forward a little bit. Let's skip forward to this moment. ETH has been incredibly weak for the entire cycle, and you shouldn't be long ETH. You should never long ETH over VC. There's no reason to. When you look forward even slightly, the past doesn't tell you what's going to happen in the future. So, never say never in the markets, because it makes you be wrong. It would be great if you have the time. I mean, I put them on the list. I'm just going top to bottom. You literally have like a loading bar on the right. You just see me going from top to bottom. Okay, so W has actually hit TP. To my surprise, at least. Because when I charted this, I said that this was an absolute shitcoin. But it hit TP for those that asked for it. So we hit entry and we hit TP. That's actually great. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Don't worry. Okay, as of now, though, we already have the levels marked out. So, would it take anything here? No, I wouldn't. I don't think this is a place to be taking a position. In my opinion, there are two places to take a position. One, you can look for a short to get back to this point. Let me zoom in a little. Two, you can look for a long if you flip this. Now, I cannot give you a stop loss for either of these, because both of them would likely have to be based on the wick, and this one wicks a lot, as you can see on this candle, for example. I don't think this is tradable at the moment. I think you wait for either of these to happen. You wait for either this short to happen, or this long to happen, and then you get into it again. So I would literally just mark this out between 0925 and 1. Opened 1. You can take positions in either of these. This is the only level I would look at. Just looking for shorts over here. Just place them a bit on the right. And just take it back down right over there. Or look for longs somewhere over there. And in that case, you look for this. Both would be risky, but both would be fine. I think both are very realistic positions. Joop. Ooh, that is a very old chart. That was a chart I made like right over here. That's funny. Well, I think I made it over here. see. This coin is so incredibly ugly, the structure. Yeah, this isn't valid. I'm trying to see if we actually hit the 1, but we didn't. I could swear to have charted this before. Wait. Pending weekly close, the position never happened. Look through. No, okay. On Jupiter, they should have the exact same thing as Allwith, which is very ironic because they're both solely consistent plays. It's funny to see that if you would have looked at this state of charts like a year ago, I would have told anyone that every ETH related coin looks absolutely incredible, and every Sol related coin looks like it's about to jump off of another cliff. They wouldn't have believed you. Either way, I'm gonna give you the exact same analysis as on With, because this chart looks the exact same. This is the exact same chart as With. This has to reclaim this, or this coin is dead to me. I don't see a reason to look at this coin until this is flipped. You have a lot of coins to look at, so be picky. If it flips, you can at least take it up to range highs, which would be right there. If it doesn't flip, I simply wouldn't look at the coin. We missed the short, sadly. This would have been a really good short on this candle close right here. We had a very bearish daily close that just perfectly retested this level. We missed that short. The long is still possible. If we actually go and flip this to support, I'll look for a long. If it doesn't, I would simply not look at it. Actually, I'll give a last level because I know it's there, so I might as well mark it. The only other level I would consider, because this is a coin that people care about, right? So even though the price is low, this coin isn't just gonna die out of nowhere. This is a level I would consider. I don't have a place to put the stop loss, so I complete guessing work until we actually get there. But if we do ever get to 0.277, I do think you have a nice long up till 6.3. Yeah, same story. I just wouldn't touch this. There's an airdrop token that just blew out of proportion at the start and then died. It looks the same as DYM. Same chart. It looks the same as TIA, although it hurts a bit to say. It looks the same as what other airdrop tokens were there? Parcel, right? I think it's an airdrop token. Oh, this blew up though. Oh wait, this is a company. Okay, never mind. It looks the same as every other airdrop token, essentially. So, grass, I just wouldn't touch it. I don't see a reason to touch this. The only reason you would have is wicking this. You are getting kind of a reaction to it. What if you got on a 0.91? You know what? That was a good entry. Okay, I'll give it to you. That is a really good entry. If I would have entered this coin, this would have been my entry. I actually have to play because okay, pending the daily close, right? Because this would be so we would have executed on the 4 hour, but the daily close is gonna determine this. So essentially, this is probably the player you're in. We wick this, we then close above it, and a nice reaction. This doesn't look bad. This is a very simple SFP play, right? I think this is a good play. I wouldn't trade this coin personally because I don't trade these coins anymore, but it's not a bad play. If you've already taken profits, I would honestly just mark these levels out. You just divide the rest of your TPs over this. I mean, these are perfectly fine TPs. When you take SFP plays, usually your target is just going to be the next swing high. You can either say that one or this one. I would put it right over there. And I think you have a good support area over here. So I would just put it at the bottom of that. Yeah, I would hold it, personally. I think you hold it, make sure your stops are at entry or in profits, and then see if you get stopped out at entry and walk out with profits, or if you get an RSP. Dot. Also that coin. Bitcoin is dead apparently. Bitcoin actually looks good though. Oh wait, dot actually looks a lot better. So that's the thing, right? With and Tube, I talked about reclaiming your level. Dot has actually done that. Getting an entry now is going to be difficult because this coin actually skipped the retest. If we do get a retest, I think it is a really free long. I think this would be an absolutely fantastic long because you just take this up to range highs, which is right there. But that's a big if. I don't know if we're actually going to get that retest. For this to happen, Eve's going to have to reject. Yeah, this looks really good. You actually also have a shark over there. Well, I guess it's an N-star. It's very close. This doesn't count because BD is not the 1618. Yeah, I would let's say look for that. I think you can actually get an entry over here. Could probably get away with this. You have a shark over here, and N-star slightly lower. You can draw some pretty high targets as well. I'm gonna keep this as a higher time frame play. I'm just gonna mark it out as a higher time frame play. But I'm gonna keep this coin in mind. I can't give you a full setup right now, but I'm gonna add this to the list and probably trade this in the near future. Because this reclaims like these look really good. That's the thing. When coins like these are trading below their range lows or below like their low support level, they look terrible. That is a really bad sign. But if you then reclaim it and flip it back into support, that's when you get charts like these, where CRP. Okay, I'm gonna have to go on to another chart. Okay, I'm gonna pretend this is all-time low because in reality it's a bit to the left over here, but it serves its purpose. So when you're trading in this area, coins usually aren't interesting at all. But if you then do go up and you get that reclaim, you get really good moves. CRP in this example moved, what is it? 230%. You do get really good moves on reclaims. So this coin is good. And that also goes for Jupe and Whiff. If they actually reclaim, the charts look a lot better. So I'm just gonna send this chart, a very, very simple chart, because I think this is the entire thesis. And then when we get to that point, I'm gonna go into a lower time frame, probably make a play out of this. Like I will probably signal a play for that. Okay, perhaps TM I should honestly go on to where is it? Because I think I have it. Yeah. We did lose that level fully this time. So sad that we never what's it called? Never got that final SP. FTM does look good, but his chart is a bit weird. So I'm gonna draw some market structure, right? These are your highs and lows. Now this would technically be a higher low because we didn't close lower than the previous wick. However, it is absolutely not a strong one. So what do we do with that? What we do is we zoom in a bit and look at any position. When we start doing that, The conclusion we're going to get to is... I'm just going to mark out the edit 6. The chart's incredibly ugly. Is that we're actually rejecting. So this chart is a difficult one to trade. On a higher time frame, you have really, really easy invalidation. On a higher time frame, the play is as simple as just gonna enter and start a position. If we ever close below this level, that's when I'm gonna cut. The problem is that is really far away. The problem is that is 40% off, so I wouldn't actually do it. But the play is there. Like, it is kind of what I marked out on those off. The problem is, like, how are you gonna get an actual entry on this? I'm actually going to become a support resistance trader. Unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. This doesn't look bad. Yeah, monthly opening as well. Retesting this weekly order block. I think this looks good. I'm gonna be honest. I just think this looks good. We missed the optimal entry. The optimal entry would have been right in. But this chart looks good. Your next TP would be up here. Your next main TP, right? Higher time frame. I think you had a previous long on this. Yeah, it could be. It makes sense. If you trade support resistance, this is a chart along. Because that's simple. If you just look at this level, and especially someone like Neil that has a lot of experience, right? You have these types of coins marked, and you just have a line like this, and you just set an alert on it. Create alert. If it gets touched, you enter. It's that simple, because this is just one of those levels. So yeah, it makes sense. I personally wouldn't enter here yet. I think we missed the best entry, and I hate that. I wouldn't blame anyone for taking a position here. I think it makes a lot of sense. I just don't know how I would construct a play. Entering a small play would make a lot of sense. Entering a leverage play is a bit difficult on a coin like this, but yeah. Okay, I had some coin requests after. I'm not gonna do all of them. Okay, I'll do Pal real quick because I also want to see what Pal's up to. Yeah, this coin is dead too. Pal had a really good moment over here, and I had a really good entry on it over here because I entered when the hack happened. This is but no, it wasn't a hack, it was a merge. They were gonna merge with ASI and no one agreed with it, but then you actually read through the news and it was like they aren't actually gonna merge. They're gonna yeah, I'll do Farcoin, don't worry. They're putting a merge up to vote. So that is such a dumb sentence, but like I know what it means, I know charge the coin, but if we just read that out loud. Oh, I hate Farcoin. But yeah, Powell had a really good moment here, but it kind of didn't stick. That was a problem. Okay. Anyway, let me mark this out. For Powell to become interesting again, I want to see this 886 reclaimed. I don't have a lot of time anymore, so I'm gonna give you a very simple chart. I'm sorry. But to be fair, you came after the coin cross came in, so I'm also not sorry. But either way, that's what I think of Powell. I don't think Powell's really interesting at the moment. Like, it makes sense to be taking a risk here, but we also had that moment already. We had the moment where, yeah, this is where you take risk. You break out, you retest, you break out, and we break down. You don't want to see this usually. So I would only want it now if we actually clip it again. Okay, Filecoin is the last one, and then get out of. Okay, let me finally, after probably like 20 streams of people asking for Filecoin, remove this long. Actually, let me just clear everything apart from this. Yeah, I think this goes low too. I agree. I think Filecoin is actually forming a range for once in his life. Okay, the way we've been trading Filecoin on stream is this. Barrett, I know you trade Pips as well, so I recommend actually doing this because it's really nice. These have been working really well. Let me confirm for a second. This is actually the lowest point. Yeah, okay. So, Filecoin doesn't have any harmonics. This chart is incredibly ugly. So, what we've done is I've placed a very simple trend-based fib from this to this to this, and a very simple fib from this to this, and that's it. That's how we've been trading Filecoin. And when we do that, what we currently see is that we broke down below this level again. Do we do yes, at the start of the stream. I think it's going to go higher until 4K. That's why I think it's going to go lower. So what I would currently look at on this, and this would be a slightly risky position to take because this cluster isn't dense at all, right? Your fib and trend-based fib are pretty far apart. So this is risky, but the idea still counts. I would wait for this to get retested. If you get a retest here, that's when I would enter short. Where we place the stop loss, that's a different story. That is more difficult to execute. I would probably place it above this wick. But that can change. Stop loss placement on this one is a bit iffy. And I would simply take profits right over here. And right over here. Just looking for harmonics for a second. I only see an anti-shark. I'll mark it out. 113 right over there. Yeah, that's what I would do. I think this is a great position to look for short. It's going to be the 886 from there to there as well. I think it's going to go low. Okay. Okay. So that's going to be it for me today. As always, I am not actually taking any of the plays we discussed because that would be the worst risk management of my life, taking everything I chart on stream. If I actually take anything, I'll put it in my channel. Thanks everyone for coming. I'll upload the recording once stream is over, and I will see everyone next week. For sure. It's good seeing you all here as well. Okay, I'll end the recording here, and I'll see everyone next week. Enjoy your weekend, lads.